Pardon me, this is a rant today. I wanted to do these primarily historically background and to tell our story as a civilization, as a nation, but the constant headlines and so forth that I see, and it's like we're being taught and being rewarded for being afraid, living in fear. And living in fear is a way other people can control you. Being afraid is normal. We all run into that moment. And fear is something that warns us, prepares us. But constant, never-ending, daily, with something new or the same thing that never ends is not a good way to live. And at some point, people, individuals, have to stand up and face it. And as part of our story, go back to this country and our civilization as a whole. People, for instance, the first explorers who were looking for Cathay, China. Columbus sailed across the Atlantic Ocean. He didn't really know how long it was going to take. He had a theory, but it was like us going up into space, and we really don't know what goes beyond our own solar system. We at least know that. He didn't even know that. He didn't know there was two whole continents in the way. And then you had others before him, the Portuguese and so forth, and then other French and English and other Italians, and sailed across the Atlantic, and then Magellan, who circumnavigated the globe. Don't tell me that when you're out there, especially the Pacific Ocean, when you're out there in the middle with nothing around you but water, that you're not having second, third, and fourth thoughts about that. So I used to live in Texas, and on the edge of the Great Plains, and I would drive out there and stop and look around, and the weather there can literally kill you. The changes are dramatic and sudden, from the heat to the freezing cold to the wind. And then you had the Comanche, which were a fearless warrior nation, allied with the Kiowa and so forth. And the settlers and were in constant turmoil for like 40 years. So even neither side knew what the end of the day was going to bring, or if they were going to be there or not. So that's living with fear, but at the same time having the spine and the wherewithal to stand up and do what you're expected to do, or what you expect yourself to do. Take care of your family, take care of those around you. Now we have this pandemic thing, and there's reasons to, that's an unknown factor, and yes, it kills people, and we've responded to that, but I think in a negative way. My grandfather, who I mentioned in some posts that I do on the blog, was in World War I, and in the trenches, and so did that. And then when he came and he saw that people die horrendously, and he was a young man. And then he came back here, and while he was coming back here, we had what we called, or the world had what was called the Spanish flu. And I understand that something like 20 million people died from that worldwide. And it was huge, and no one knew, but people continued with their daily lives. There were people who were afraid, and so forth and so on, but life continued. They didn't curl up in a ball. In 1968, when I was a young man, we had what we call the Hong Kong flu, and the country was, I don't know, not quite, I think 185 million, well now we're 310 million, and I think over 1 million people were infected, pardon me, and over 100,000 died from it. I'm not sure about that. But the thing is we didn't curl up and give up, and our government wasn't giving us information that changed from day to day. And I don't know if they're doing that to keep us in fear, or if they're doing that because they don't know what the hell they're doing. I think it's possibly the latter. I don't really know. But the thing is living in fear is not a good thing. It's not good for you. It's not good for your children. It's not good for everybody around you. One more case. Right now, our local school district, which we have had, I think, in the 3 deaths, not recently, from COVID. There's really, as far as I can tell scientifically, that children are really not at grave risk. So they went through this big debate in front of the school board and so on, had parents give it. The state is a non-mask mandated state. So they went through this big debate, and the school board voted 4-1 to allow parents to make their decision about the mask. And I won't get into that whole, pardon me, that whole thing. But 4 days later, the superintendent overruled, which my understanding is he does not have the authority to do that. So everybody's kind of like, what? But he overruled the school board and said all the kids are going to have to wear masks. So I don't know where that's going to go, but it's this continuing thing of fear. And we have a lot of people, again, in charge. I don't know if it's because they really don't know what to do, they're afraid for themselves, or they just want to maintain control. And there are people who want to control everybody else. And I think those people are people who don't feel too good about themselves. And so we're kind of in this point, and excuse this rant today, of where do we go from here? Do people stand up? Can you stand? Can you live in a way we have determined, and people before us determined we have a right to live? You cannot allow those in authority, and we put them there, to tell you on a daily basis how you are supposed to live when they don't even know if that's going to work or not. Anyway, you have a good day.